How's it going, everybody? It's Konungr, and today we have another video for you. It is going to be with WildStar, and we're going to be going over my aura masteries for Stalker DPS. Now, the way I have these set up serves a couple of purposes. First of all, I don't actually have my action bars shown, ever. So what the aura masteries do is it allows me to see what abilities I have in my limited action set at any given time, as well as seeing cooldowns, and it also serves the purpose of being a pseudo move suggestion, similar to, and I frame it the way I do, sort of like the old Feral by Night add-on for WoW Feral Druids. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into this, and we'll take a look and see what aura masteries I have. I will briefly explain what they do, what sets them off, why they show, when they don't show, etc. I will also go through a quick demonstration of them. And below I will post a link to my guild forums where I have listed all of the codes for them. So if you like the way this is set up or like any individual code, you can just go over to the forums, copy that specific code, and import it in. So quick and simple. So I guess we're going to go ahead and start with, we'll just go down the list of the abilities based off of where they are in the LAS. So the first one's going to be Shred. Now Shred will show all the time based off of one thing. If my resources are below 29, or if I have less than 30 suit power, and I am in combat, Shred will show. It's just the way I've got it set up. I actually don't even need it to be only in combat because most of the time I'm running around with it anyways, but as soon as I exhaust all of my shreds, it will either disappear, or if I go ahead and save that way, it shows me the shred. Basically, Shred only shows if it is the last possible thing I can be doing, with the exception of the side abilities. Now, my main abilities that I have in the main window here for the move suggestion: Impale, Shred, Punish, Concussive Kicks. Yes, and Neutralize. But Neutralize is always in a different spec. That's only for farming trees and whatnot. So the second one's going to be Impale. Now Impale is going to show if, as long as I have more than 30 suit power, Impale will show, because it is the thing that you should be casting most of the time. Impale is 60% of the DPS. I also have it's a trigger set for the limited action set. It's set to pass. So as long as it's set, as long as I have Impale in that action set, this will show up. Next one we're going to go to is Analyze Weakness. So this one's actually in its own little window up here. It will show up based off of two things: if it's off cooldown and if it's in my limited action set. So I currently don't have it in this build. Right now, Ruin is a better DPS ability than Analyze Weakness due to suit power cost. Analyze Weakness does a lot more damage, but because of the suit power, you lose about 10 impales, so Ruin is better currently. After drop 3, Analyze Weakness all the way, because it has no suit power cost, and you're going to be getting it's about a 20 DPS boost over Ruin, tier for tier, and you get about 32 more impales on about a 7.5 minute fight. So that's a big DPS boost by switching from Ruin to Analyze Weakness. The next one on the list is Ruin itself. Now, the way I have Ruin set up, because there is currently no way for Ruin to, there's no API hooks for individual debuffs. So if me and Morica, who's the other Stalker in the raid, are both throwing Ruin, there's no way for either of us to tell which one is ours. So the best way to do Ruin is to set up a keybind fail. As long as it's, whenever you press the keybind, you have it set to fail, and I set my threshold to 8 seconds instead of 10, because this gives me a 2-second window from the time that icon pops up for me to press Ruin before I have a DPS loss. So I have it set to 8 seconds, and as soon as I press it, it disappears. 8 seconds later, it pops back up for me. Our next ability is going to be Neutralize. Now I actually have two different Neutralize ones. One shows up anytime it's in my LAS. So if I switch over to my secondary spec right now, that I just have it there for trimming trees, it shows up. It's low opacity, so it doesn't cover up anything, and it only shows up if it's in my LAS. My other one goes a little bit deeper. It shows up no matter what, even if the debuff or the buff isn't on me. Oh, wrong. Neutralize. This one. So this one will actually show up as long as I have any stacks of Neutralize on my target. And it will show me how many stacks I have and what the cooldown or what the duration of the debuff on me is. Well, I guess it's a buff, but I tend to think of it as a debuff because it's kind of a negative effect. So, that's both of the neutralized ones. Let's go ahead and switch back to our other spec. And our next one is going to be Punish. Now, Punish is a little bit trickier. There's actually 3 different triggers for this one. It has to be off cooldown, I have to have the buff, and I have to have under 30 resources. Now, it might actually be 35, that's the trigger for Punish, but I set it to, yes, as long as it's used below 35 suit power, you get 30 suit power. I set mine to 30 because that's the threshold for Impale. That's how, at tier 8, that's how much suit power Impale costs. And it gives me about a 5 suit power window. So as long as I see it up there, I can safely hit it without worrying about gaining enough suit power to lose the buff off of it. So as long as I cannot cast Shred, or not Shred, as long as I cannot cast Impale and I have a Punish proc up available, I can cast it. Next one we're going to look at is Concussive Kicks. Now, I don't like the way I currently have this set up, but because I haven't had the chance to fully experiment with Concussive Kicks, I'm not currently at max ability points, and the Concussive Kicks rotation is a DPS loss in a raid environment without 48 ability points. I currently have it set to the same window right here, but for some reason, even though it has the highest opacity, it likes to get hidden behind Impale. So I'm either going to move it out of that window or figure out what I'm going to do with it, but I don't currently like the way that's set up. But as long as it's off cooldown, it will show up whenever it's available. I'm not sure why the resources is on there. I'd have to play around with that again. Next one, we're going to go ahead and move over to the utility tree, is Stagger. So we see Stagger here, and on that same spot we also have the Collapse one. I have both of those stacked up. They have different positions for each of their cooldowns. One's on the top, one's on the bottom. That's a little bit harder to see, but I can easily check and see whether or not both of them are on cooldown because I have the cooldowns duration in different locations. So I can just switch between the two. I don't have to click on it, I can just quickly glance at it and see whether or not they are. Right above that window is going to be another double stack one. I have Preparation, I also have Tactical Retreat, because I rarely have those in the same build. DPS wise, they're about the same. It just kind of depends on your gear level. If you have more critical hit and critical hit severity, Tactical Retreat's going to win out. If you have less, Preparation is going to win out. It also depends on the fight and what you are. If you're on the target all the time, Tactical Retreat wins. If there's any downtime, Prep's going to win. So both of those are in the same location, no biggie there. One other thing that was in this area for Analyze, Weakness, and Ruin that you didn't see, because this is only in my PvP spec, is Tether Mine. It will show me how many charges I have left, and if I go ahead and switch over to that build, it shows, you can see charges and duration while it's charging up. So if I use both of them, charges go away and it's on cooldown. Let's go ahead and switch back to my regular spec for this one. And lock that again because it doesn't need to be showing. Over on the other side we have the Gadget. Gadget only shows up if I'm in combat and it is not on cooldown. Below that we have Pounce, which shows the cooldown at all times, and then right below that we have Nanoskin Lethal, which also shows cooldown at all times. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little about 30-second fight here so you can see how it works in real time. Alright, so just kind of like I said, quick look at that. Now you might be wondering why my claw slashes were kind of a purplish color instead of the blue that you may see. I currently have my colorblind set mode set to the Deuteranopia. Let me go ahead and turn that off so you can see that setting. Now, while I am not colorblind, I do prefer this setting just due to some of the color differences in the games. I don't really like the red telegraphs, and this actually changes it to a kind of orangish yellow for enemy telegraphs. In Drop 3, they are increasing the options there to where you can actually choose the color of the telegraphs per type. So your self telegraphs, healing, and enemy telegraphs. You can choose with a color picker all of those. I plan on doing something between orange and purple and a blue and green for somewhere in between those to kind of make those more customized for my own personal taste. I'm not really a big fan of red and green for everything, so I like the way this is currently set up. Plus it's just kind of a purplish background. I'm not too big on the purple, but it does suit the Stalker. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope these R masteries will help you. Like I said, there will be a link down below, so if you decide that you want to use these R masteries, feel free to go on over, copy them, and import them in. As you copy them, if you use all 16 of them, it's going to set it up just like I have mine. Basically, it perfectly set up to where it does a Feral by Night type simulation. Really the only tricky thing is going to be concussive kicks, and most likely I will create its own type of deal slightly above it where it's at currently, or I'll try to figure out a way of getting it and Impale to work in the same window. I may also set it up to where concussive kicks only shows if I'm below 30 suit power. I might have to look into that. That might be something I do, so that it's not conflicting with Impale itself. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and hope it helps.